I love Mexico and I have no plans of returning. Que lo que miente, my name is Shawnie. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here and you're already prepared to type a mean comment without hearing me out first, at least hit subscribe. Dang. And if you're already part of the community, thank you so much for your continued support. Te amo mucho. I'm still kind of getting used to this Gen Z new heart thingy, whatever. In my last video, I shared that despite spending 3.5 enchanting and ravishing years living abroad in Mexico and even becoming a legal resident, I will not be returning to live. I will only return to visit. As previously promised, today I am diving into the 7 reasons why I no longer desire to live in Mexico, starting with the least significant and ending with my top reason why. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting at the bottom, number 7, the expat tax. One thing I absolutely cannot stand is being taken advantage of, and I hate being viewed as a dumb American. But unfortunately, I have felt this way on multiple occasions while living in Mexico. The expat or gringo tax is a real thing. It's when you're constantly being scammed and charged higher prices just because you're a foreigner. This can happen with food, goods, services, or rent. And it's happened to me on multiple occasions. Dealing with this on a consistent basis can wear you down. It starts to change your demeanor towards people and also makes you less trusting of people and ultimately hardens your heart. Let me share a few examples. When I lived in Playa del Carmen, I hailed a taxi to go not even a mile down the road, and I already knew beforehand that it should cost no more than 50 pesos. But when I got in his taxi, he tried to charge me 200 pesos. I immediately got out. I can walk, baby. Another instance, when I was at a restaurant and I got my bill, it was much higher than I expected it to be. So I asked to see the menu again, and when they brought me the menu, it was a different menu with inflated prices, as if I wouldn't notice. Just because the US dollar stretches a little bit further in Mexico does not mean I have money to just throw around. I am not rich. I count every single dollar that I work hard for. Being scammed repeatedly is not only frustrating, but incredibly exhausting to deal with. Number 6, the police. As a foreigner in Mexico, I don't trust the police. To be fair, I share the exact same sentiment towards the police in the United States. However, if I needed help and I called the police in the US, I can expect some level of resolution. In Mexico, as a foreigner, I'm far more likely to be extorted than assisted. I've experienced this firsthand. Once while driving in Tulum, the police pulled me over and said I committed a traffic violation and told me I would have to pay them or go to jail. Now, while I don't like to be considered a dumb American, I sure did play the heck out of that part that day. I just kept acting like I didn't understand what they were saying. Yo no sé. I don't understand. They got so frustrated with dealing with me that they walked to their car, got in, and drove off. I refuse to willingly give money and contribute to a toxic cycle that other people will have to endure. Another incident, which I've detailed in a previous video on my channel, we were having a Black expat Sunday brunch, and we were having such a beautiful time. About an hour and a half into it, we get a knock on the door, and it's the police. Apparently, somebody said they saw one of us with a gun. Come on now. Really? And so they shut our brunch down and made us come out one by one, searched every last one of us, and people at the back of the line were literally scrambling to hide their money so the police didn't take it. It was absolutely ridiculous. I don't want to live anywhere where I feel abused and exploited by the very people that are supposed to protect and serve the community, especially in a foreign country. Number 5, online hate. I truly believe that God gave me this life to share and inspire others, especially those who look just like me. He blessed me with the gift of gab, and I've been using it to share my journey online, mostly on TikTok. Nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for the sheer amount of hateful, mean, racist, and vile comments that I used to get on almost a daily basis, mostly from Mexican people. I literally had to filter out certain words and phrases from my comments so that it would need my approval before it can get posted. And of course, I didn't approve it. I blocked them. The internet has emboldened people to be vicious and cruel without having to face the consequences of their actions. Luckily, I have tough skin, but not everybody is built like me. This type of cyberbullying could have serious effects on somebody's life. I've realized that there is a growing disdain towards foreigners in Mexico. And even though I personally took the proper steps, went through the immigration process, and became a legal resident of Mexico, some people just don't care. They don't want me there. And I want to make one thing very clear. Even though I do get hateful and mean comments online, in the entirety of my 3.5 years I spent living in the country, I have never had an unkind experience in person. The internet trolls do not represent Mexico as a whole. The Mexican people I've met have been overwhelmingly kind and welcoming, and that is something I've experienced firsthand. Number 4, gentrification. Continuing the growing sentiments of disdain towards foreigners, a lot of it stems from the effects of gentrification. Locals are being priced out of the neighborhoods they've grown up in for generations due to the influx of foreigners and digital nomads with higher purchasing power. Life in Mexico is becoming unattainable for the people that are native to the land, and I completely understand their frustrations. I can see how it would evoke anger when there are foreigners openly talking about how cheap Mexico is for them, when there are locals who are working hard every day to provide for their families and survive. Neighborhoods are losing this community structure and this culture due to the influx of Airbnbs. There are some businesses that are catering and prioritizing English-speaking customers, and there are foreigners that walk around with a sense of entitlement. Yeah, I can see how that's frustrating, and I'm not even Mexican. But here's where I struggle with the situation. There's a lot of finger pointing at foreigners as the sole cause of the problem, with little accountability for the landlords and businesses that are profiting by pricing out their own people. Where's the responsibility on their part? And what about the lawmakers who haven't implemented regulations to protect the citizens from the negative effects of tourism? It's easy to place the blame on foreigners without considering the actions or inactions of those who have power to make meaningful change. Number 3, the noise.
Se compra colchones, tambores, refrigeradores.
If you've ever been to Mexico, you might have heard this sound. I swear, after living there for 3.5 years, to me, this is the soundtrack of Mexico. Mexico is a vibrant and lively country, and the sounds of Mexico play a huge part in that. However, those same sounds can be a big nuisance at times. If your neighbor wants to party till 7 a.m. with the music at full blast, you just have to deal with it. If a dog wants to bark non-stop from sunrise to sunset, there is nothing you can do about it. And if a truck wants to ride around your neighborhood blasting the sound of a little girl requesting your junk over a microphone for hours, you just have to deal with it. Mexico has no noise regulations to ensure the peace and quiet of its residents during certain time frames. You just have to adapt and adjust. For me, as a light sleeper, this was a major challenge. It took me nearly a year to get used to the constant noise. I barely got proper sleep the first year I lived in Mexico. It was hell for me. But over time, I started to get used to it, and it became the background music to my life, and I learned to live with it. Adapting to a new environment is a challenging reality of moving abroad. If you can't adapt, you leave. It's as simple as that. At the end of the day, you are not in your home country. You are a visitor. Number 2, the water. If you didn't know, you cannot drink the tap water in Mexico. The water quality does vary by region, but most areas in Mexico have hard water. Hard water is high in minerals, mostly calcium and magnesium. Due to this, it will often leave a white film on dishes, cause chalky white buildup on appliances that use water, and it can also wreak havoc on your skin. In Mexico, most people will have a water delivery service, or they'll go buy one of those big 5-gallon water bottles known as garrafones in Spanish, which usually cost between $2 to $3. I didn't mind this at all. However, the biggest issue I had with the hard water was the effects it had on my skin. My skin became extremely dry. It looked like I had crocodile skin. I have literally never seen myself that ashy before. My acne never improved in Mexico. What I learned is hard water strips the skins of its natural oils, which can cause irritation and dryness. And due to your skin's weakened ability to protect itself, you become more exposed to the environmental pollutants. My skin was struggling in Mexico City, but not so much in Playa del Carmen. Additionally, if you live in Mexico City, you have to deal with the ongoing water shortage issue. There was a looming doomsday where experts predicted that the water would completely run out. That is terrifying. There are also neighborhoods in Mexico City that routinely experience water outages for hours at a time. Mexico City's water crisis is due to its massive population and an outdated infrastructure. The water grid in Mexico City is old, which results in leaks that lead to significant water loss. On top of that, there's an unfair distribution of water, prioritizing hotels and tourist zones over the needs of its citizens. It's a dire situation all the way around. And my top reason, number one, air quality. This is more specific to Mexico City, which was my favorite place I lived during my time in Mexico and not the country as a whole. Mexico City is a massive, bustling metropolis with a population of 13 million people, making it the largest city in North America. And with this size comes some significant challenges, with air quality being one. The poor air quality is due to several factors: its massive population, a high number of vehicles, rapid industrial growth, and its unique geography. Mexico sits at an altitude of about 7,400 feet above sea level, where oxygen is 25% lower. This makes doing even the most simple physical tasks more exhausting. I remember I would go for runs, and after I finished running, my chest would burn intensely. I have never felt that, and I've been running since I was in 5th grade. And also, when I would blow my nose, my snot would literally be black. I had a constant nasal drip when I lived in Mexico City. I had to keep tissue on me at all times, and the dust in my apartment would settle so quickly, which required me to clean frequently. And I don't know if you know this, but there is an active volcano southeast of Mexico City. And in 2023, the Benito Juarez International Airport had to ground flights due to ash emissions from the volcano. Since Mexico City sits in a valley surrounded by mountains, the ash and soot from eruptions settles on top of the city. These conditions deeply concern me when I think about the long-term effects on my health, and for that reason, I would not choose to live in Mexico City long-term again. I want to emphasize that my reasons are not meant to evoke fear or to discourage anyone from visiting or living in Mexico. I love Mexico. Mexico was so good to me, and I'm abundantly grateful for how it changed my life for the better. However, that chapter of my life has come to an end, and now y'all have the full story of why I left and why I won't be returning to live, only to visit. Now, although my life abroad is on hold for now, I still have so much I want to share with y'all, so please stay tuned. If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next video. Peace.